everybody, it's Donna from Dinners with Donna, and today we're going to do a vlog of something I've also been making for decades. I've been making some really tried and true family traditional favorites for my family, and this is another one of them. I got this recipe out of a cookbook that my father actually gave to me when Samantha was 2 years old, and he took us to Mystic Seaport Village in Connecticut, and we found this community cookbook in the gift shop, and my dad bought it for me, and I found this recipe for cheese puffs, and I've been making it ever since Samantha was 2, and she'll be 30 in a couple of months, so I've been making it for quite a long time. And again, this is a Samantha requested recipe, which is why I decided to make it for you guys and share it with you. I'm going to be reading you the recipe. I have a picture of it from the cookbook, but what I'm going to do is type it out for you guys and put it in the Facebook group, on my website, and all the good places, in the video description, all that. So this says we're going to need a loaf of unsliced white bread. I use brioche because I find that it holds up better, and what I did was I cut it into cubes and I put it in a 350 oven for about 6 minutes to dry out, not toast it completely through, just to get the outside a little bit toasty, so that when we're dipping it in the cheese mixture, it holds up. So there's that, all ready to go. We have 2 3-ounce packages of cream cheese, or 6 ounces, which I have right here. 8 ounces of sharp cheddar cheese, which I also freshly grated in my food processor, ready to go. We have 1 cup, which is 2 sticks or 4 half sticks, like you guys know I use, of butter. I use salted. You can use whatever you want. And 4 egg whites beaten stiff. And that's what you're looking for there. It has to hold up. You don't want it jiggling or wiggling and seepy. You want it all solid like that. Okay, so this says to make the recipe in a double boiler, which 28 years ago is what I used to do. But now I found this really cool gadget, an electric fondue pot, and it keeps the temperature even and consistent without having to use a double boiler and keep adding water to it. So I can walk away from this for a second and come back and everything will be the way it's supposed to be. So we're gonna use that today. This holds the sticks. We're not gonna need that so much today, so I'll put that off to the side. And so now we cubed our bread, we cut it into bite-sized cubes, and then in our pot, we're going to melt our butter. So I'm gonna put the pot on. Here's the dial. I'm gonna start off and put it on. Oops, the plug came undone. Of course, it had a technical issue. Let me see if I can. Sam, pause that a second. Okay, I think it's in. Richard, I just want to make sure this is it. Yeah, I think it's in. It's in. We're going to go with it. Okay. You ready to continue? It was like loose. Yeah. Okay, guys, so we had our little technical problem with our with the plug going into the thing. It's just the angle I'm at. But no worries, the light turns red, so the indicator, so you know it's on. But anyhow, we're gonna put our butter in, and that's gonna melt. And I'm putting the setting at about 3. You don't want it on high. You're not trying to like kill the thing. And it's already, see, it's sauteing the butter. So I'm gonna turn it down even more. It's melting that butter really fast, which is good. Okay. So the butter, and now the cream cheese and the cheese. So just dump everything in here. And then we'll put our cheese in, and then when we put the cheese in, I'm gonna move the pot over a little bit so that we're more centered, because now we don't need this food processor bowl. Okay, so gently, there we go. And we're just gonna stir this and let it gently melt. Now I think I'll turn the heat back up to 3. Can you pause that for a minute? Okay, so we're just gradually melting everything together. And then once the everything melts together, we're gonna let it cool for a moment, and then we're going to fold in gently the stiffly beaten egg whites, and that's 4 egg whites. Make sure you use large or extra large eggs, please. And see, this is melting down really consistently, really nicely. This would take forever in a double boiler, to be honest. Okay. So now another tip on this, guys, is that once you make these, they need to refrigerate or freeze. I put them in the freezer. At least 3 hours, preferably overnight. So when we make a tray of these, we're gonna pop them in the freezer, and then we'll cook them a batch up tomorrow so you can see what they look like when they're finished. So we're just doing the prep work right now. And I've never found a recipe similar to this. I lost my cookbook, unfortunately, in one of my moves. It was only temporary because it turned up months later. But of course it was when I was looking for the recipe that I couldn't find the cookbook once we had moved. So I found one on eBay to replace it, luckily. That wasn't terribly expensive. And I looked everywhere on the internet for that recipe, something similar to this recipe. I have yet to find anything that quite measures up to this one, and it is Samantha's favorite. Now Sam's here behind the camera, so I'm gonna ask you, Sam, is this your favorite because it's like a childhood memory, or is it your favorite because you just love it, the way it tastes? It's kind of like a grilled cheese, isn't it? Yeah. Sam is a woman of few words, as you all know. So I interpret. This is coming along nicely. I'm gonna turn the heat up now to 4, just because it's starting to, you know, the cheese is getting, see that kind of semi-solid consistency. I need it to melt. And I'm using my silicone spatula because nothing sticks to it. And it's absolutely incredible. And look, you take it out and everything slides right off. You can go like this, nothing sticks to it. It's awesome. And basically what you're trying to do is get the cream cheese and the cheddar cheese incorporated with the butter so that it's not, so you can see the butter now is kind of separate from everything. You're kind of trying to get it all together. And it takes a little while. But you can see, and I make figure 8s. That's just my style. You don't have to make figure 8s, but I find it blends things a lot easier. As you can see, once I started doing the figure 8s, it's incorporating much nicer. Okay. And you can see the color too. It's turning more of a pale orange or like a peach color because the cheese is now incorporated with the cream cheese and the butter. So it's not that, you know, sharp cheddar cheese orange, that bright orange that it was when we put it in here. And if you guys want to, in the comments, let me know if you've ever heard of this recipe before, or if you make something similar. And if you do, you know, what do you do, and what are your techniques with it? I just love this fondue pot because as opposed to the double boiler, I'm not slaving over the stove. I'm in my normal prep area of my kitchen, and it's electric, so the temperature of the pot is consistent. And I just really like that I don't have to tend to it over the stove. If you're making other things, you know, you want to keep your stovetop free and clear. Because I used to make these at Thanksgiving. I would make one big batch and then freeze them and take out some for Thanksgiving appetizers, and then Christmas Eve or Christmas Day appetizers, and then New Year's. because they're that popular. Everyone loves these. Unless they have a lactose intolerance, then this would not be the one for you. And if you are, you know, gluten-free, you can make this with gluten-free bread instead of the brioche. And look at what this is turning into. So you just have to have some patience with it. And it's looking really pretty. That is exactly the color you're looking for. And I can still see, you know, on the outer edges, that butter. So I'm gonna try to incorporate that as best as I can. And then what we're gonna do is take 5, because this needs to cool a little bit. And then when we come back, we are going to fold in gently our stiffly beaten egg whites. And you really need this to cool down a lot, like almost to room temperature, because if you don't, your egg whites will curdle and you'll have scrambled eggs in your cheese, and that's not a good thing. You don't want that. That, no bueno. Not good. But look at this, guys. It almost looks like a queso dip at this point, which is exactly what you're looking for. So we will be back. I'm gonna let this cool and then we'll proceed from there. Hey guys, so we let our cheese mixture cool slightly, like it said to in the recipe. And now we're gonna gently fold in our egg whites. So it's gonna start with a little bit and fold and fold. And this just gives it a lighter texture and makes it just adhere to the bread better. It's a whole thing. And you want to incorporate them slowly. I don't like putting my egg whites all in at the same time. I find it easier to fold them in, especially with this pot, in little increments instead of all at once. And when you're folding, you're going all the way back. You don't want to stir it like crazy. You want to go to the bottom and just bring it forward towards you. And there you go. I'm going to put this on the lowest setting, which is 1. So that it stays warm. When I say stiff, look at that. That's what you're looking for. These are really, really stiff. I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest of them. Because we've incorporated some now, so we'll just do the rest. And this is really, that's the hardest part of this recipe right there. Now, after we get these incorporated, we are going to start dipping our bread slices into the cheese mixture, and we're going to put them on a you can put them in a baking sheet, you can put them on a foil lined pan like I'm gonna do, whatever fits in your freezer basically. I know some people have tight spaces, so you can use several smaller pans. I've done that. Okay, this is looking great. And you're gonna have a little texture here. You're fine with that. It's not gonna be perfectly smooth, and that's fine. This is exactly what you're looking for. Okay, so now we're going to go in and get our pan, which I have prepared here. And I'm gonna make some for you guys. And then we will freeze them overnight. And then I will bake them for you tomorrow. Okay, so we have our bread tray here. And what I'm gonna do is set up like a station. And I'm gonna have the bread here, the cheese here, and the finishing. Well, maybe I should have done it the opposite way. We'll do this. Let me move my plates out of the way. Here we go. We'll put the finishing tray there. I'm gonna slide this over. Now, you may have to stir this again, so you may need your spatula again if it starts, you know, forming a skin or anything like that, but it shouldn't. So I've got this fondue pot came with these fondue forks, these 2-tine forks, which are perfect for this. And because I toasted it, see that it holds up better. And you're just gonna put it in your mixture like that. Tap off the excess and then put it into your vessel. And I would say, you know, try not to have them touching if you can, because, you know, when they freeze, they'll stick together. And one thing I did adapt from the recipe that you can choose to do or not to do, that's totally your call. I leave the crust on my brioche. Now, if you have like a farmhouse bread that you're using with a thick crust, that's, you know, the crust is not where the flavor you want is, because you want that center cut of the bread, by all means, feel free to cut the crust off. But for me, with the brioche, see the crust is really thin to start off with. You can see there's hardly any crust to begin with, and that's why I like brioche too. And brioche also has, like I said, a hearty quality to it, as well as a slight sweetness. I just really like that bread. I use it for French toast, bread puddings, and cheese puffs. Okay. And see now, Sam, you know why I don't make these terribly often, because it does take a long time to dip each cube in the bread. Now see, this is where it would be great if you have little ones, because they can each take, the set of this fondue pot comes with all these color-coded forks. So everyone knows whose fork is whose. I have the pink one, I have the blue one. So, you know, they don't get crossovered by anyone. And, you know, you can have more than one person making these at a time, which would probably be advantageous, as opposed to me just doing it, which has been like that since for 28 years. So. Okay, and be generous. I mean, I say tap the excess off, but if you like extra on yours, you can definitely, you know, put extra cheese on it. Just be careful, because like I said, you don't want to ruin the integrity of the bread, and you don't want it falling apart. So you want to be careful with that. But you want a good, generous coating of the cheese mixture on there. And like I said, keeping this on low, as you can see, is keeping it consistent, and it's not clumping, lumping, anything like that. And if it does, I just turn it up one notch on the thermostat there on the side, and it will melt everything again, and we just give it a stir. So, ooh, that's my watch again. My watch always talks, you guys, you know that. She doesn't like me very much. Or maybe she does, she just likes to talk to me. She doesn't understand. She always says she doesn't understand. So maybe I confuse her. What is this cooking sorcery you do? Okay. Perfect. And what I don't know if you can see in the shot because I'm not shooting the video, but if you can tell, sometimes if it's not sliding right off of the fork after I coat it, I'm using a spare one to kind of ease it off of the dipping fork. So no worries there. I'm trying to shake it off, but it's not working. So I'll get my second one like here, see? There you go. If you have a little bit, like see where the fork goes in, that's not coated, no sweat, that's not a big deal. It's still gonna be yummy. And you'll see when we bake them up tomorrow, they're gonna get golden brown. It's almost like a bite-sized grilled cheese without the mess. That's the best way I can describe it. And like I said, I've never seen a recipe like this anywhere else. So I don't know if this is someone else's family recipe, if it's an old recipe, but I love it. Sam loves it. My whole family used to love it. And I was able to locate my cookbook, you guys. So before we close out and I freeze these, I'll show you the cookbook. So maybe if you want to try to locate a copy on eBay or Amazon or something, or a great used book place I've always used is Powell's, P-O-W-E-L-L-S. They're located in Portland, Oregon, but they have like every used book known to man that you could ever possibly imagine. So if they didn't have this book, I would be surprised. I used to get a lot of old cookbooks because I collected them. I used to have over almost like 500 of them or something. It was ridiculous. Unfortunately, they didn't survive all my moves to Alaska and then to Oklahoma, where our garage was invaded by brown recluse spiders. And they got all my books, which was not a good thing. So most of my cookbooks did not survive, unfortunately. But I had lots of old cookbooks from the early 1900s, and I really love cookbooks from like the 50s and 60s, just stuff like that. It reminds me of like my grandma and the stuff she used to make, and my mom and my aunts. It just makes me feel homey and like comfort food, you know? This kind of reminds me of that. This seems like it's like a 50s or 60s recipe that, you know, you'd make for a cocktail party. Those were popular back then. I'd have a mocktail party with Sam. Sam likes her mocktails. When we go to Top of the World, when it was open at Bay Lake Tower, they have a mocktail that Sam loves. It's called the Little Monorail. I don't know if any of you have heard of it, but it's only, it's basically a pina colada mix, which has no alcohol in it, and orange juice. And Sam can down those. Once, I think you took down 6, didn't you, at one sitting, Sam? Yeah, she's nodding yes. So, you know, she really loves them. I must say they are quite tasty, but for me, too much sugar. But I do like a good mocktail. Okay, this one's being finicky, so we're gonna get our little finger in this one. Sometimes, and that's why I wanted to toast the bread, because that piece was a little bit soft, and that's why it needed a little help. It wasn't holding up, and that's why I toasted the bread, and that's my tip on this. If you don't have a good sturdy, you know, like farmhouse bread, crusty bread, and you're using something softer like I do with the brioche, you're gonna definitely, I recommend toasting it a little bit in the oven. And like I said, not a full toast. You want it, I only did it like 6 minutes. And I usually, if I'm making toast in the oven, like if I'm making croutons for stuffing or something, I do 10 to 15. So definitely not as long as, you know, making croutons. Okay. But this is fun. It almost reminds me of an après-ski. That's like the after ski where you come down from skiing and go into the lodge and have all the like food and fondue and all that kind of good stuff, and like hot chocolate and all that. This would be good for that. And this is one of the things I like about this too, is that, you know, we're making this ahead of time. So you can make this like 2 or 3 months ahead of time if you want to get a jump start on your holiday appetizers and stuff. And these will keep in the freezer for 3 to 4 months, easy, probably up to 6 months safely. And you just keep them in the freezer, and then in a, you know, a zipper top bag. And then when you're ready to use them, you just take out however many you want or that you need for your party or your gathering, and then you just bake what you need, and the rest stay in the freezer. Or you can portion them out. Sometimes I'll do a dozen to a bag because there's only 3 of us in our home, in our family right now. So we don't need a whole ton of these at a sitting. So I would do like a dozen, which is about, you know, 4 pieces a piece. That's a good size serving, I think. Sam might disagree with me. And these are really, really nice little bites, you know? And like I said, you can use whichever kind of bread you like. I do recommend the brioche though. It's just a favorite, just because it has, I don't know, it's thick and it's airy and it's flavorful. Some bread doesn't have much flavor. I would imagine sourdough would be good in this as well. And this one's falling a little bit apart, but that's okay. We'll meld it together like that, see? And this is the thing, you don't have to worry. There are no mistakes here. You just fix them. And see, you're guessing none the wiser. Oh, they're 2 small ones, not 1 big one. Oh well. We make it work. And never be afraid. There are no mistakes in the kitchen. There are happy accidents, and we just go with it and make them work. But that one ended up working, because what happened was, if your bread does start to fall apart like mine did, I used the cheese mixture as like a glue, and it put it all back together. So no one's gonna be the wiser, and they get more cheese. How cheesy, right, Sam? And I hope the tapping isn't bothering all of you. That could be ASMR. But yeah, you do want to get the excess, because if you have too heavy of a coating, like I said, your bread will start falling apart, and we don't want your bread falling apart if you can help it, you know? Like that one I had was an accident, but you don't want that happening all the time. A couple of them is okay. You can fix it. Okay, so I finished this layer, guys, and I'm going to show you. So that's what we're done with now, and I'm going to just continue making the layers off camera, because you don't need to see me repeating this process redundantly. That's just ridiculous. So we'll take a break and come back from that, and I'm going to freeze them overnight, and then we'll cook them. But before we go for now, I wanted to show you, this is the cookbook. I treasure this cookbook because my dad got it for me. It's Christmas Memories Cookbook, 350 favorite Christmas recipes from Mystic Seaport members, with extra pages to record your family's favorites. And as you can see, it's spiral bound. There's all kinds of sections and stories in here, and I just really think it's an awesome cookbook. And if you can find it, I would grab a copy. Really good recipes in here. So anyways, we're gonna put these in the freezer. I will see you guys tomorrow to bake these off, and we'll see how they taste. Okay, so we're gonna pop these in the oven for 12 to 15 minutes, and then we'll take them out and show you what they're supposed to look like when they're done, and we'll test them. Put our timer on. 12, and there we go. See you in a few. Okay guys, so we let our cheese puffs go in the oven, preheated at 400 degrees. We put it on for about 12 minutes, and this is what they look like. They look really good and golden, and this is what you're looking for. So, you know, they come in different sizes, variations. It's fine. The size doesn't really matter. You can cut them perfectly if you want to. I never get my squares perfect. So, okay, we're gonna try one, and we'll see what we think. It's so good. It's crunchy. It reminds me of a grilled cheese, but without the ooey gooey part, but it tastes like a grilled cheese. I really love these. They've been in our family for, like I said, almost 30 years now. Samantha's favorite. So can't go wrong with that. And again, check out this Christmas Memories Cookbook from Mystic Seaport. I believe it's from 1994, 93. It's from 1985. So this is older than I thought. 1985 cookbook that I bought in 1993 or 94. So yeah, go check it out if you can find it. It's a really good cookbook, and one of my treasured cookbooks in my collection. So I was glad I was able to replace it. Now I have 2 copies because I found the missing one. But anyhow, I want to thank you all for joining me. I think this is our last cooking vlog for a little bit. Hopefully I will see you on the live soon. I go live every other Sunday, usually at 4 p.m. Eastern time on my YouTube channel. I will keep you guys posted on my foot issue and when I'll be back and all that kind of thing. But enjoy each other for now, and be kind, and make sure if you like the video to thumbs it up. Click the bell so you know when I go live or put out a vlog or anything. And thank you so much for all your support. Love you guys. Take care.